The night sky cracked open without warning. One moment Earth was calm, cities glowing, families sleeping, lovers holding hands. The next, huge silver crafts appeared above major cities. No sound, no warning, just floating monsters in the sky. The world called it first contact, but it wasn't peaceful. It was an invasion. The aliens didn't use bombs or guns. They used light. Blinding flashes that disabled tanks, melted metal, and made satellites fall from the sky. In just 3 days, 80% of Earth's defense systems were gone. But not all hope was lost. Hidden deep underground, in a secret desert base, a special human program had already started, a program not of weapons but of science. A mix of human and alien tech stolen from old crash sites. A group of scientists and soldiers were working on something called Project Echo. And then came the accident. A young human engineer named Ry Carter was working late. He wasn't a soldier, just a mechanic, a fixer of wires and machines. But on that night, something strange happened. The alien pod they had recovered months ago began to glow. "Relax, human." A soft, strange voice echoed through the lab's speakers, though no one was near the microphone. Ry spun around. No one. Then, with a sharp hiss, the pod opened, steam poured out, and inside lay an alien girl. She was breathing, naked, covered in glowing patterns like tattoos. Her eyes blinked, huge, blue, and completely non-human. Before Ry could move, she sat up, tilted her head, and whispered the words again. "Relax, human. This won't hurt." Then she touched her chest, and Ry collapsed. The alarms screamed. Scientists ran in. But Ry wasn't dead. He was connected. Lines of glowing light were spreading across his arms, running toward his heart. The girl looked at the others and said coldly, "The procedure has started. You cannot stop it now." Everyone froze. This wasn't just an alien. She was part of something larger, something hidden, something Earth wasn't ready for. But now, it had already begun. The lab lights flickered. Ry Carter lay unconscious on the floor, glowing veins crawling up his neck. The alien girl knelt beside him, her expression unreadable, almost calm, almost curious. "Is he dying?" one scientist whispered. "No," the alien replied without even looking. "He's adapting." Security guards rushed in, weapons raised. "Back away from him," one of them barked, but she didn't move. Instead, the girl raised her hand slowly, then tapped her fingers against the air. The guns in their hands melted. Not exploded, just turned into soft metal that dropped like warm clay. Everyone froze. Dr. Halley, the lead scientist, stepped forward, trying to stay calm. "Who are you?" The girl stood. Her skin shimmered in the lab lights, her markings glowing in rhythm with Ry's heartbeat. "Designation, Ilana. I was not supposed to wake. Yet." Dr. Halley looked down at Ry. "Why him?" Ilana blinked. "He touched my pod. That means consent was given." "Consent for what?" Someone shouted from the back. She finally answered with a word that chilled the room. "Bonding." Suddenly, Ry gasped, then sat up. His eyes burned bright blue, just like hers. He looked around, confused, then at Ilana. I saw things," he muttered. "Memories, stars, planets burning, a machine world, and—" He stopped, his hand over his chest. "She's inside me." Ilana nodded. "Now you see." "What do you want from us?" Dr. Halley demanded. "I want nothing," Ilana said. "But they—" She pointed upward toward the sky. "They will come. And without him you will all die." Ry stood shakily, still dazed. "Why me?" Ilana looked straight into his eyes. "Because only a human heart can carry what's coming." A silence followed. Then sirens rang again. Not from inside, but outside the base. Alien ships had found them. The procedure had only just begun, and Earth's countdown had started. The ground shook. Dust fell from the ceiling as distant booms echoed through the underground base. "They found us," A soldier shouted, checking a tablet. Multiple incoming ships, they're surrounding the desert. Inside the lab, panic spread. Scientists grabbed equipment, guards secured doors, but everyone kept looking at Rye Carter, the man now somehow glowing with alien energy. He didn't understand what was happening to his body. His chest felt hot. His skin shimmered under his shirt, and every time he blinked, he saw stars, galaxies, flashing symbols he didn't recognize, like someone was uploading a map into his mind, and standing beside him was the source of it. All Ilana, calm, beautiful, dangerous. We need to leave now, she said. Dr. Halley stepped forward. We can't just run, this base is our last defense. Then you'll all die here, Ilana replied bluntly. He is not ready. If you want him to survive, we must reach the Nexus chamber. What's the Nexus? Rye asked, holding his forehead. His heartbeat was speeding up. It's where the bond completes, she said, walking toward the back wall. She pressed her glowing hand against it, revealing a hidden panel. The wall slid open, revealing a narrow tunnel lit by old emergency lights. This tunnel leads to the canyon, Dr. Halley said in shock. It was sealed years ago. Not sealed anymore, Ilana replied. I opened it. Rye turned to the team. We don't have time. Either you trust me and come, or you stay and die. Another explosion rocked the base. That was enough. Small team followed Rye and Ilana down the tunnel. Dr. Halley, a young medic, 2 guards, and an AI drone floating overhead. As they ran through the tight space, Ilana turned to Rye and spoke quietly. You're changing, do you feel it? He nodded, sweating. Yeah, I feel stronger, but also not myself. She looked ahead. Good. That means it's working. Suddenly the tunnel trembled again, and behind them, part of the wall exploded. Something was chasing them, but it wasn't a ship. It was alive, and it was hunting him. The creature was fast, far too fast for something that size. It slithered through the broken tunnel wall, made of black metal and living flesh. Its long body twisted, like a serpent, covered in sharp silver plates that shimmered in the emergency lights. It had no eyes, just a wide open mouth that pulsed with glowing blue teeth. Rye looked back while running. What the hell is that? Ilana's voice was calm. It's a sentinel, a hunter. They're sent to retrieve or kill anyone who bonds, without permission. Wait, you mean me? Rye shouted, nearly tripping. Yes, she replied. It's here to kill you. The others panicked. The medic screamed. The drone fired a laser, but it barely scratched the creature. One of the guards stopped and turned to fight, but the beast lashed out with its tail and slammed him against the wall like a rag doll. His body didn't move again. Don't stop, Dr. Halley shouted. Keep running. Rye's chest burned hotter now. He stumbled, then gritted his teeth and pushed forward. Why does it want me dead so badly? Because you're not supposed to exist, Ilana said without turning around. They reached a section where the tunnel split into 2 paths. Ilana quickly pointed. Left. The team followed her without hesitation. Behind them the sentinel screamed, a horrible, high-pitched noise that echoed off the walls. It was gaining. Then Rye tripped. He hit the floor hard, skidding across dirt and stone. The creature launched forward, but Ilana spun back, raised her arm, and for the first time, she screamed too. It wasn't a sound. It was a pulse. A wave of force erupted from her palm and hit the sentinel like a wall. The monster crashed into the tunnel wall with a shriek, its body sparking and twitching. Ilana ran to Rye and grabbed his hand. Your heart is waking up. You can do this too, but you must let me in. Rye coughed, shaking. Let you in how? Open. Your thoughts, let me see. He hesitated, then nodded. The moment he agreed, something shifted. Their hands glowed together. His body pulsed with alien energy, and for the first time, he understood her language completely. The sentinel recovered, roaring again, but Rye stood up, eyes glowing. His hands crackled with power, and he said calmly, Relax, Ilana. This won't hurt. Then he stepped forward to fight. Rai stood still as the sentinel charged forward. His body glowed brighter with every heartbeat. Lines of alien light wrapped around his arms and chest like armor. His eyes flashed a deep blue. Just like Ilana's, the monster leapt and Rai moved. He didn't think. He didn't plan. His body just reacted. His hand shot forward and a wave of raw energy blasted from his palm. The sentinel was hit mid-air and thrown back into the wall so hard the ground shook. Everyone behind him froze. Even Ilana looked surprised. "You just used a pulse wave," she whispered. "I didn't know I could do that," Rai replied, breathing hard. "I didn't know anything." The sentinel groaned, its body twitching. It tried to stand again. Rai stepped forward, but his legs shook. The power was fading. "I can't hold it for long." Ilana moved beside him. "You're still adjusting, but that was enough. Let's go." They ran again, and the team followed. Only one guard left now, and the medic crying softly but still running. Dr. Hallie was sweating, confused but focused. "Where does this tunnel lead again?" the last guard asked. "To the canyon edge," Hallie replied. "There's an old supply post. If it's still standing, we can contact the outpost in Sector 9. And if it's not?" the guard asked. Ilana answered, "Then I will carry you." They reached the final steel gate of the tunnel, but it was shut tight. "No power," the medic said, panicking. "We're trapped." Rai stepped forward and placed his hand on the control panel. It lit up. The metal door opened slowly with a deep groan, and the canyon night air rushed in. Stars above, crickets below. Freedom, but behind them came the sound they feared most. The sentinel had recovered, and it was roaring again. Rai turned to Ilana. "I need to stop it." She nodded. "You can't kill it, not yet, but you can delay it." "How?" "By using what I gave you." Rai took a deep breath. "Wish me luck." She reached out and touched his shoulder. "I already have." Then Rai turned and ran back, into the tunnel, alone. Outside, the others stood frozen. Seconds later, the tunnel shook from another explosion of light. And then, silence. Ilana looked toward the tunnel entrance. "He's alive," she said. "But the next time he faces that thing, he'll need more than power." "He'll need what?" Hallie asked. Ilana stared into the stars. "Purpose." Rai stumbled out of the tunnel, alive but barely. His clothes were torn. His chest still glowed faintly. His arms shook from the energy blast he'd used to trap the sentinel behind a wall of collapsed steel. For now, the monster was sealed. Ilana rushed to him and caught him before he fell. "You did well." "I thought I was going to die," Rai whispered, coughing. "But you didn't," she said softly. "You adapted again, faster than I expected." The others helped him sit down near a broken supply post overlooking the canyon. The stars were bright above and the wind was cold. Dr. Hallie stepped closer. "We need answers now." Ilana didn't argue. She stood in the moonlight, her glowing skin dim but steady. "I come from a race called the Valari. We were not born. We were created, designed to carry and protect ancient knowledge. But that knowledge is too powerful for our kind alone. It needs a second mind, a second soul." She looked at Rai. "Only a human can carry it." "Why humans?" Hallie asked. "Because humans are unpredictable," Ilana said. "You love, you hate, you sacrifice. No code can fully predict you. And that's exactly what the knowledge needs, someone who can choose." Rai looked up. "And what did I choose?" "You chose me," she replied. He blinked. "I didn't even know what you were, but you didn't run, you didn't destroy the pod, you stayed." She walked closer to him. "The bond is not just energy, it's not just power, it's memory, emotion, pain, and eventually, something deeper." The medic looked uncomfortable. "Like love?" Ilana didn't answer. She looked at Rai again. "You're changing. Your mind is connecting to the archive. Soon, you'll see everything we've stored, The truth about this war, and what's coming next. What's coming? Hallie asked. Ilana turned toward the stars. A weapon. One that eats stars and planets. We once built it, and now it's returning. Rye stood shakily. And you think I can stop it? No, she said. I know you can. A long silence followed. Then the old communication panel nearby crackled. It was faint, but a signal came through. Sector 9, do you copy? We received your flare. Is anyone alive? Dr. Hallie grabbed the device. This is Hallie from Base Echo. We have survivors. Ilana looked to Rye. We must move. The Sentinel will not rest long. And as Rye looked out at the stars, a strange feeling grew in his heart. Something powerful. Something dangerous. And for the first time, he didn't feel fully human anymore. The group traveled through the desert. Under the moonlight, Rye walked slowly beside Ilana. His skin still glowed faintly under his torn clothes. He could feel energy pulsing under every step, like something inside him was alive and waiting. They reached Sector 9 just before dawn. It was a small, high-tech outpost built into a cliffside, one of the last functioning human stations. Soldiers rushed out as the gates opened, pointing weapons at first, but lowered them once they saw Dr. Hallie and the wounded team. Get them medical attention, the base captain ordered. Then he spotted Ilana and raised his gun again. What is that? She's with me, Rye said firmly. The captain hesitated. What happened to your eyes? Rye didn't answer. Ilana stepped forward and said calmly, You are not under threat yet. That didn't help. But Hallie stepped between them. She saved our lives, and if what she says is true, she may be the key to surviving what's coming. The captain finally backed off. Fine, but she's not walking around. This base without supervision. Neither am I, Rye said, staring at him. His voice was deeper than before. The captain noticed and nodded. Inside the base, scientists and medics worked quickly. Ilana sat beside Rye in a dimly lit room, silent. He watched her as she stared at a wall screen filled with human data. You're different, Rye said. She looked at him. So, are you? Rye touched his chest. What exactly did you give me? Ilana hesitated, then said softly, A map to the core of the archive, the place where the weapon sleeps, but only bonded minds can survive entering it. Alone, I would die. So would you. But together, we have a chance. Suddenly, alarms blared across the base. Red lights flashed. A voice echoed. Unidentified. Ship approaching fast, no signal, no ID. The captain shouted into the comms, Defensive units, lock on. Prepare for impact. Rye stood up. It's not the Sentinel, is it? No, Ilana said. It's worse. The ship landed hard just outside the base, its sharp design different from anything seen before. Black, with red veins of pulsing light. The air around it crackled. A single figure stepped out, tall, humanoid, wearing ancient armor covered in glowing symbols. Everyone on the wall aimed their weapons. Rye walked up slowly, against the captain's warnings. The figure removed their helmet. It was a woman, pale skin, eyes like red fire. She smiled at Rye. So, she said, you're the human who stole the bond. Ilana stepped beside him, her voice cold. Vera. You remember me, the woman said with mock surprise. I remember killing you. The woman laughed. You'll have to do it again. But this time, your little human might not survive. Then she looked straight into Rye's glowing eyes. I've come to finish what you started, human, and trust me. She smiled darkly. This will hurt. The soldiers stood frozen. The woman, Vera, had power radiating from her. Every step she took made the sand around her boots shimmer unnaturally. Her presence twisted the air. Rye stepped forward, but Ilana quickly raised an arm to stop him. She's not just dangerous, Ilana said quietly. She's unstable. Vera tilted her head. Still protecting him, Ilana? That's sweet, but foolish. The captain shouted from the wall, and stand down or we'll open fire. Vera raised her hand, and all the weapons aimed at her bent backward like soft paper. Everyone gasped. She smirked. Let's not pretend your toys can hurt me. Then she walked toward Rye. I felt the bond form, she said. I felt it, the moment he touched you. The archive responded. And I knew you had chosen someone. Rye tried to stay calm. You said I stole the bond, but I didn't choose this. Vera smiled again. Doesn't matter. You have it now. And the archive can only hold one link at a time. Ilana's voice turned sharp. You were denied the bond for a reason. Oh yes, Vera said bitterly. Because I was too honest about using it to destroy the weapon. You wanted to destroy more than the weapon, Ilana snapped. Vera's glowing red eyes met hers, and you wanted to save more than the stars. Rye stepped between them. So why are you here? Vera looked at him like he was an insect or a puzzle. To test you, human. If you are worthy of the bond, you must survive what's coming next. She stepped back and raised her hand again. A flash of light burst from her palm and hit the ground. Out of it rose a creature, twisted, bone and flame, mechanical legs and sharp tendrils. Ilana cursed under her breath. A trial beast, you maniac. You've got 5 minutes, Vera said. Either he controls his power or he dies. The trial beast roared. Rye looked at his hands. I can't feel it. The energy's not coming back fast enough. Ilana touched his forehead. Then let me give you a little more. Just enough. To survive. Will it hurt? She looked into his eyes. Yes. She kissed him, and in that moment fire exploded through Rye's body. He screamed, fell to his knees, and then rose again, glowing brighter than ever. The trial beast charged, and this time Rye didn't run. The trial beast lunged, its claws tearing into the ground with terrifying speed. Rye stood firm. His body burned from the inside out, but he didn't scream. Not this time. The power Ilana pushed into him during that brief kiss was unlike anything he'd felt before. Hot, wild, alive. He wasn't just glowing now, he was blazing. The lines on his skin pulsed like living circuits. The soldiers on the wall watched in silence, unsure whether to help or run. Don't interfere, Ilana warned them. If you break the trial, he'll die anyway. The beast charged again, jaws open. Rye raised both hands and crossed them at the last second. A force shield appeared, crackling with energy. The beast hit it head-on and was thrown back, roaring in frustration. Rye gasped, falling to one knee. I can't hold this forever. Then don't, Ilana called out. Use the bond, shape it, not with fear but with memory. Rye clenched his fists, breathing hard. Then he closed his eyes. He remembered, his mom's hand wiping grease from his cheek after his first machine fix. The time his dog got lost and he didn't sleep until he found her again. The day he was told he'd never be strong enough to join the military. All those moments. All those choices. He opened his eyes, and the glow turned white. The trial beast rushed again. This time Rye didn't defend. He attacked. He ran straight at the monster and released a pulse of pure energy from his core. The explosion was silent, bright, blinding. When the light faded, the beast lay in a smoking crater, alive but unconscious. Rye stood in the center, breathing heavily, his clothes torn, his eyes glowing white-blue. The ground around him had melted. Vera clapped slowly from the side. Not bad, human. Not bad. At all. Ilana rushed to Rye. You did it. Rye grabbed her hand, still shaking. No, we did it. Vera walked closer. You passed the trial. But know this. Every time you use the bond, it changes you. Piece by piece, you'll stop being human. Rye looked at her, calm. Then I'll just have to be something new. Vera smiled darkly. Good. Because the weapon has already awakened. Everyone froze. What did you say? Dr. Halley whispered. Feyre turned to the sky. The Star Eater. The machine that devours suns. It's coming. She looked back at Rye one last time. And your final test will be survival. The sky turned black, not from clouds, but from something massive, moving above the planet, a shape larger than any moon, dark, cold, alive. The Star Eater had arrived. It hovered above Earth's atmosphere, casting a shadow over the desert. No sound came from it, no light. Just a heavy pressure in every person's chest, like the world had already accepted defeat. Inside Sector 9, alarms screamed. Is that a ship? A soldier cried. No, Ilana whispered. It's a god, made by hands. Rye stood at the edge of the canyon, staring upward. His skin was cracked with light. His heart pounded louder than the sirens. I feel it, he said. It's calling to the archive inside me. Yes, Ilana said, placing her hand on his chest. It wants to absorb the bond. If it does, it will learn emotion, choice, desire. Then it will never stop. Dr. Halley stepped forward. So what do we do? Rye looked at Ilana. She nodded once. Take me to the Nexus, he said. Feyre stepped out from the shadows, silent until now. The Nexus is inside the Star Eater, in its heart. Then that's where I'm going. You'll die, she warned. Then I'll die, Rye replied. But not running. Ilana stepped beside him. You won't go alone. They walked to the launch bay. The fastest stealth ship was readied, barely functional. But it would be enough. As they entered the ship, Feyre whispered to herself, if he survives this, maybe. He really is more than human. Inside the Star Eater, the ship pierced its outer layer, dodging mechanical tendrils and strange clouds of gas. Ilana guided Rye deep into the core, her voice calm, even as the ship shook apart. Finally, they reached the Nexus. It was a chamber of light and mirrors. Ancient. Alien. Beautiful. The moment Rye stepped in, the archive inside him flared. The Star Eater noticed, and it attacked. Metal tendrils tore through the chamber. Lights pulsed like a beating heart. But Rye raised both hands and didn't fight back. He opened the bond completely. He gave it everything. Memories, pain, love, even fear. The archive exploded outward. It wasn't power the machine received. It was humanity. And the Star Eater screamed. The god machine twisted in confusion. Its systems clashed. Emotion poisoned its code. It could not understand kindness. It could not process choice. It began to collapse, piece by piece. The bond burned. In Rye's chest, Ilana tried to pull him away, but he shook his head. No more running. He stood in the light and smiled. Relax, he whispered. This won't hurt. 1 week later, Earth watched as the shadow disappeared from the sky. The Star Eater had fallen. Rye never returned. But Ilana did, carrying a small, glowing crystal. She placed it inside the archive vault. He's still in there, she whispered. And when you need him again, he'll return.